Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
After hearing those words, Aubrey finally got up and opened the door. With an arm outstretched, she rudely said, give me the things, and you can leave now." A lecherous-looking young man stood at the doorway, sizing her up. His eyes lit up when he saw her face and figure. Aubrey narrowed her eyes and urged him in displeasure. Are you deaf? Hurry up and give it to me. Miss Pearson, I think there are some details I need to confirm with you." He curled his lips into a malicious smile and waved the documents in his hand at her, but showed no inclination to hand her the file. Aubrey's facial expression turned grim. We can speak here. Someone as lowly as he is not qualified to enter my room." That man's eyes glinted coldly when he took in the apparent disdainful look on her face. The next second, he stepped forward and pulled the door open. Naturally, Aubrey's strength was no match for him. She was almost dragged out of the room following the outward swing of the door. What are you doing?" She glared at that man. He had already stridden past her and swaggered into the room. "Miss Pearson, I know you used to be the daughter of the Pearson family and look down on hooligans like us. However, you need to understand our statuses are almost the same now. You'll need my help to deal with plenty of matters now that you're living abroad." Right after saying that, he sat down on her bed. Aubrey's room was pitifully small. Her room had only a bed, and not even a couch was available. She became more exasperated when she saw he had the audacity to sit on her bed. Get up." Unfazed, he took out some identification documents from the file and started elaborating while disregarding Aubrey's furious remark. From now on, you're no longer a member of the Pearson family. Your name is Christina Patel, and these are your identification documents and introduction to your background. You can go through the details when you're free." Christina Patel. Aubrey's expression stiffened. She strode up to that man, snatched the identification documents from him, and browsed through the content. Her scowl intensified when she saw the picture and name on the ID card. Roxanne. This is all that batch's fault. Not only have I lost my face, but I'm also prohibited from using my name. Batch. I'll never let you off. Aubrey's hand trembled continuously as she held the identification documents. Suddenly, she felt something on her waist. Aubrey immediately snapped back to her senses and warily stepped away from the bed. That man calmly got to his feet and approached her. "I've put in a lot of effort to secure these identification documents. There will be some loose ends to deal with subsequently. The money you previously paid is far from sufficient, so you'll have to fork out another sum." Aubrey furrowed her brows after listening to that. Didn't we come to an agreement in the past?" He clicked his tongue. "I didn't expect you to commit such severe crimes in China, and that the process of handling your fake identity to be so significantly complicated." When she heard the mention of her wrongdoings in China, her expression changed. She was no longer as tough as before. How much more do you need?" He held up a finger in response. 1,000. She asked with a frown. That man scoffed as if he had heard some kind of joke. We're overseas at the moment. What can I do with that small amount of money? I'll need at least 1 million. Aubrey widened her eyes. You're ripping me off. I've given them 2 million previously. I can't believe he's again asking for so much money from me. I don't have any cash left. The man chuckled. Goodness, I'm telling you the truth. In the end, we're just working for someone else. Why would I want to con you?" Before Aubrey could respond to the man, his voice colder, went on. But even if I did con you, would you turn me in to the police?" "I doubt it. The police in China would come for you, and you'd be detained and sent back to your country." Aubrey's face turned ashen as he threatened her, but she knew she couldn't do anything about it. After all, she was in a strange land where no one knew her. To put it plainly, no one might even notice if she were to disappear or die here. She didn't dare report him to the police. I don't have that much money, she replied through gritted teeth. She had left the country with only 5 million. After her plastic surgery, making a new ID for herself, and renting a place to stay, she only had a few $100,000 left. Moreover, she still had many things to settle on her end, and a few $100,000 wouldn't be enough. There was no way she could come up with 1 million to pay the balance. The man arched a brow at her words and gave her a once-over. Aubrey tensed up. Her eyes were filled with disgust as she watched him warily. You can pay with something else if you don't have the money. The man paused as his gaze landed on her face. Your real face looks better, but this is acceptable as well. Plus, you used to be the daughter of a rich man. I've never slept with a rich man's daughter before. He was making an obvious suggestion that she should pay with her body. Aubrey's face immediately darkened. How dare you? If you can't settle the balance, then we'll just have to take back the documents we used to create Christina. Please look for someone else if you want to return to your home country, Miss Pearson. The man replied confidently without putting pressure on her. With that, he reached out for the ID in her hand. Needless to say, Aubrey refused to hand it over. She had spent half of the money she brought to create this identity for herself. She would lose everything if they took it back, and she would have no more money to disguise herself.
It's fine.
You can keep it. It's just a few pieces of paper. The important stuff is on our computers. We can destroy it whenever we please, the man said arrogantly. He was already all over her as he spoke. Aubrey's face shifted palpably as she balled her hands into fists. She looked as if she might slap the man at any moment. The man wasn't afraid of her in the slightest. He placed a hand on her waist and slowly moved it over to her breasts. I've seen that photo of yours from Chronicles, Miss Pearson. You're not some pure, chaste girl, so don't play the virgin card with me. Just let me sleep with you, and we won't owe each other anything. Aubrey felt numb as she stood there, rooted to the spot. The man pulled her into his embrace and started groping her. He smiled in delight when he noticed she wasn't fighting him anymore. He carried her up, bridal style, and threw her onto the bed. Tears streamed down Aubrey's face when she heard him removing his clothes. Back then, no trash would have dared to hit on her. She used to be the girl who would kick their asses if they even dared to steal a glance at her. But now, she was left with no choice. She couldn't even defend herself against a mere thug. Nobody could help her. The only thing she could do now was to betray her own body. An hour had passed, and Aubrey lay on the bed, numb and tearful, with hickeys covering her body. The man lay beside her, naked and smug. I have to say, this young lady is different from the prostitutes I've slept with. She's so fair and flawless and even smells great. It would be such a shame to only sleep with her once. With that, he sat up and turned to face Aubrey. Aubrey felt his gaze on her and returned it with a hateful glare, her face stained with tears. She wished she could tear him apart. Don't give me that look. You won't be marrying into some rich family anymore. So why not let me take advantage of you? You must realize I'm the only one who can help you now since you're all alone in a foreign country. I can even make sure you're well fed if you're good. Aubrey turned away in disdain and tightened her grip on the covers, desperately wanting to cover herself up. However, her actions only provoked the man, who reached under the covers and touched her all over. Despite feeling angry and disgusted, Aubrey was too weak to fight against the man, especially after sleeping with him. She was so feeble that it seemed as if she was simply playing hard to get. A few minutes later, the man got his way and started to enter her again. Aubrey bit her lip to prevent herself from moaning, her lips bleeding by the time the man finished and removed himself from her. The man sneered as he forced Aubrey's mouth open. If you're not bad, just a little feisty. I'll just need to get someone to train you, and I'm sure we'll be able to get a good price, he commented callously. Aubrey's face paled at his insult, and she lashed out, shut up, you'd better pray hard that I don't make a comeback one day, or else I won't let you off. The man merely shrugged indifferently, reminding her of her dire situation. I think you should worry about yourself first before this. You won't have a single cent left after taking care of all these, right? Plus, it's impossible for you to get in contact with your family in Chronicles since the Farwell are keeping a close eye on you. You can only work as a server with that fake identity of yours even if you land a job, and the money you earn won't even be enough to buy a tenth of your bag. Those words hit Aubrey right in the gut, and she felt the color drain from her face as she realized the thought of living a broke life was unbearable. I have an idea to help you make more money. You can still earn tens of thousands a month, the man drawled. Aubrey turned to face him, deciding to hear him out. The man continued, you can become a bar hostess with that beauty of yours. If you're lucky, the tips alone will make you tens of thousands a month. I'll be responsible for your safety. You just have to pay me 1/10 of the money you earn. What do you think? A bar hostess? Aubrey was filled with humiliation and disgust at the thought of becoming a bar hostess. The man left her alone as he got off the bed with a satisfied smile and headed to the bathroom. He said to Aubrey, this is your only chance to make some good money. Who knows, you might even find yourself a sugar daddy at the bar if you're lucky. You've already slept with me anyway. There's not much difference in becoming a bar hostess after all this. Aubrey stared at him with cold determination and reluctantly agreed to his proposal. Fine. I'll do it. She knew what was in store for her, but she needed to survive so that she could make a comeback and have her revenge in the future. Meanwhile, Sonia hadn't heard from her son or granddaughter for a few days after leaving the Farwell residence. The more she thought about it, the more her unease grew. On a random weekend, she decided to visit the manor. Roxanne was working overtime at the Research Institute, searching for a new medicinal herb supplier to replace Damaris Group, while Lucian was also working late. Only Catalina was at the manor looking after Estella, Benny, and Archie. Mrs. Farwell, Catalina addressed Sonia respectfully and flicked a worried glance at the kids. She knew Sonia didn't like Archie and Benny. Now that Mr. Farwell isn't together with Ms. Jarvis, I wonder what Mrs. Farwell will do to put the kids on the spot. Sonia's cold gaze skated across Catalina before landing on Estella. She ignored Archie and Benny, who were standing next to the girl. Do you miss me, Essie? Come, give me a hug. She spread her arms. Estella didn't budge and had no intentions to approach her. Sonia's expression sank, and she continued, I'll bring you out for some delicious food. Do you want to eat something yummy? Estella stood timidly beside the boys, clutching the hem of Archie's sleeve, unwilling to go closer. Irritation flashed in Sonia's eyes at Estella's dependence on the boys. She wanted to snatch Estella in her embrace but was afraid it would backfire. I'll take you to eat lots of tasty food and buy many toys, okay? I remember you liked the ice cream from that particular shop. She stifled the urge and clung to her last strand of patience, pasting a warm smile on her face. Estella's eyes twinkled when Sonia mentioned ice cream, and she craned her neck to look at Archie and Benny. I want ice cream, but I also want to be with Archie and Benny. Sonia seethed with anger when Estella had to seek their permission for something as simple as going out for ice cream. She did, however, want Estella to behave, so she leashed her emotions and pulled out 2 tickets to the amusement park. I bought tickets to the amusement park. Haven't you always wanted to go? Estella wavered and stared at the tickets in her hand. She eventually shook her head after much deliberation. No, Daddy and Mommy will take us there. Sonia got upset. They're both quite busy, and we don't know when they will be free to take you there. I can take you there now since this is the best time to visit. You will have to wait until next year if you miss it. Estella's expression started showing signs of giving in. Archie and Benny said to her, you can go if you want to. Daddy arranged a series of classes for us to study at home. Estella shook her head and pouted. I want to go with both of you. She was still a little afraid of Sonia and didn't want to be separated from Archie and Benny. Sonia furrowed her brows, tucked away the tickets, and said regretfully, I'll give them to other kids if you don't want to go. Then she pivoted on her heels and left. Grandma, Estella hurriedly called out. Sonia's plan succeeded. She stopped in her tracks and turned toward Estella. I want to go. She was on the verge of tears. But can I also invite Archie and Benny? Sonia gave both of them the stink eye and was about to refuse, but she couldn't bear the thought of turning down her granddaughter with her reddened, watery eyes. She eventually caved in. They can come if you don't cry. Estella sniffled and blinked back her tears, flashing a smile at Archie and Benny that spread upward to light her eyes. Seeing Estella happy made them a little bitter. They knew that Sonia wasn't fond of them and that she might ruin their fun even if she let them tag along. However, they would acquiesce because it was what Estella wanted. Archie and Benny shared a look and managed a smile to pacify her. All right, let's go together. Stop crying already. Estella nodded fervently. I'm not crying. I'm very happy. The amusement park is going to be so fun. Sonia came over to lead her away. Estella didn't shy away from her this time, only occasionally glancing over her shoulder at Archie and Benny. What are you looking at? Sonia asked, her eyes downcast. Estella grumbled unhappily. Slow down, Grandma. Wait for my brothers. Sonia's expression hardened, her grip around Estella's hand tightening. Watch what you're saying. They're not your brothers. You have no siblings. Estella pursed her lips, unhappiness stamped all over her face. You're lying, Grandma. I want to be with Archie and Benny. She struggled out of Sonia's grasp and tried to go toward them. Sonia kept a lid on her disgust, temporarily tolerating Estella's tantrums. Okay, I was wrong. They're your brothers, she said and hugged Estella, afraid that Estella would run away. Archie and Benny were a few steps behind them and overheard the entire conversation. They lowered their gazes, disappointed that Sonia didn't want them to be Estella's brothers. Sonia had the driver take them to the amusement park and guided them in. She only had 2 tickets, so she bought 2 more for Archie and Benny at the entrance. The kids didn't realize 4 of the tickets were different. Sonia and Estella entered the attractions without a hitch when they were inside the amusement park, but Archie and Benny were stopped by an attendant. Kids, you need to queue up. Archie and Benny were bewildered and pointed at Sonia. We're with that Grandma. The attendant checked their tickets again and was similarly perplexed. They're VIPs. Both of you have regular tickets and will need to wait in line. Archie and Benny understood and took their tickets, obediently going to the back of the line. Estella realized her brothers weren't with her in the maze and shook Sonia's hand anxiously. Grandma, where are Archie and Benny? They're probably still outside. Maybe they don't like this attraction and went to another one. The park is very safe. They won't go missing, she replied, unperturbed. Then, her eyes went to the crowd queuing up outside. It's peak season, and the queue is long. I hope those 2 take their time waiting in line. Just as she led Estella in, Estella wriggled free from her grasp. The girl ran as fast as her little legs could carry her. I'm going to find Archie and Benny. Sonia chased after her and wrapped her arms around her, preventing her escape. They will look for you soon. Be a good girl and you'll have so much fun. Estella searched the milling throng of visitors at the entrance, but she couldn't locate the boys. Her eyes reddened in agitation, and tears laced her voice as she said, I want to be with Archie and Benny. What if Archie and Benny got lost in the crowd? Daddy and Mommy will be very worried. Upon noticing that Estella was about to burst into tears and seeing the crowds of people around them, Sonia had no choice but to give in and carry the little girl to the entrance to wait. After half an hour, they finally saw the 2 boys in the line. Archie, Benny. Estella quickly ran over to them, worry etched across her small face. Why did you come in so late? They looked at each other. Then Archie answered in a comforting tone, So we just accidentally fell behind, and it took us a while to find you guys." Hearing that, Estella sniffled and clasped their hands. "We'll hold hands. That way, we won't lose each other." Archie and Benny did not refuse but merely glanced at Sonia, who was standing some distance away. Her expression shifted immediately. "I wasn't planning on bringing those two little brats along. However, seeing that they're rather perceptive and can take a hint, I don't mind letting them join in for a while. Even so, they have to keep their distance from Essie." Since they were already inside one of the attractions, Sonia did not protest and allowed the three children to walk together. Once they exited the attraction, she picked Estella up in her arms and said in a doting tone, "I'll take you to see the princesses. Would you like that?" Estella nodded and said innocently, "I'm a little princess too." Tickled by her granddaughter's reply, Sonia chuckled and scratched her nose. That's right. You're a little princess. Now, we're going to meet the older princesses." With that, she carried Estella toward the next attraction, leaving the boys far behind them. Estella slowly pulled a long face. "Archie and Benny. Grandma, wait for them." Sonia was forced to slacken her pace and wait for a while. After Archie and Benny caught up to them, she leaned down and asked, "I'm taking Essie to see the princesses. You two boys wouldn't be interested in that, right?" She did not give them time to respond and quickly continued, "I run along elsewhere to play. I've upgraded your tickets, so you won't need to line up. You can play whatever you want without having to wait." In that case, I don't want to go and see the princesses either. I want to play with Archie and Benny. "Put me down, Grandma," Estella declared, squirming in Sonia's arms. Having learned her lesson after what happened earlier, Sonia held Estella tightly, not giving the latter a chance to break free. That's enough, Essie. Archie and Benny aren't interested in meeting the princesses, so I'll go with you. Let them have fun by themselves." That only made Estella kick up an even bigger fuss. Others around them started glancing in their direction, thinking Sonia was up to no good. She stared back at them fiercely, then glared at Archie and Benny. What are you still doing here? You can go home if you don't want to play." The two boys knew that Sonia despised them. Seeing that Estella was on the verge of tears, they could only say reassuringly, "Don't cry, Essie. We're going on the roller coaster and we'll come to look for you in a bit." Archie wiped away Estella's tears, took Benny's hand, and waved at her. Carrying Estella in her arms, Sonia walked away without a backward glance while Archie and Benny remained where they were. Benny felt worried and disappointed as he watched Sonia and Estella leave. Archie, do you think Essie will cry later? What if she cries a lot? Shall we secretly follow them? Furrowing his brows, Archie shook his head. A grandma will calm her down. If she finds us following them, it'll only make her even angrier. Then he turned to look at his younger brother. Do you feel like going on any ride? Benny responded with a shake of his head. I didn't even want to come out today. I only came here with them to accompany Essie. We'll just wait here for Essie to get back then, Archie replied. Sonia brought Estella to meet a few of the princess characters. However, the latter was distracted and kept asking to return to Archie and Benny. The older woman seethed with anger at the sight of the teary-eyed little girl. If you don't like this, we can go. She pretended to stroke Estella's head lovingly before turning and walking toward the exit. Thinking Sonia was finally taking her to Archie and Benny, Estella stopped crying. However, they had gone halfway when she realized they were not going the right way. Instead, she could see the amusement park exit ahead of her. No. I want to find Archie and Benny. You're evil, Grandma. I don't want you anymore. Estella wailed, struggling to free herself from Sonia's arms. Sonia held her in a vice-like grip and said in a brusque tone, So what are you talking about? Ever since Roxanne and those two little brats showed up, you've been hanging around them all the time. I think you've almost forgotten you're a member of the Farwell family, and now you're even saying that you don't want me anymore. They must have taught you that. Well, you have to stay with me today. She strode toward the exit while carrying Estella, and within just a few minutes, the pair had left the amusement park. Watching the widening distance between them and the park entrance, Estella sobbed until she had barely any energy left. She was exhausted by the time Sonia carried her into the car. Watching the widening distance between them and the park entrance, Estella sobbed until she had barely any energy left. She was exhausted by the time Sonia carried her into the car. When the driver saw that only Sonia and Estella had returned, he asked cautiously, "Je Mrs. Farwell, what about the other two?" "You drive to the nearest shopping mall," as she instructed icily as though she had not heard him speak. The driver knew better than to refuse when he noticed her stormy mood and started driving. Throughout the car journey, Estella continued sobbing quietly. Archie and Benny waited for Estella and Sonia inside the amusement park. When neither returned for the brothers, Benny suggested they look for them. They circled the entire park but saw no sign of Estella or Sonia. They started feeling a little anxious. Do you think something happened to Essie?" Benny asked, looking at his older brother nervously. "I got lost before, but I'm much braver than Essie. If she gets lost, she'll surely cry buckets." Archie was worried too, but he tried to stay calm and think of a solution. A few seconds later, he used his smartwatch to call Essie. He tried a few times, but alas, there was no answer. That made Benny even more uneasy. Quick, let's tell Mommy." Archie mulled over the matter for a while, then gave Benny a reassuring look. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Essie is with Grandma, and we can't find either of them now. So, maybe..." He could not bring himself to finish his sentence. However, Benny had already guessed what he wanted to say and asked dejectedly, "Did Grandma leave with Essie?" Although Archie made no response, the answer was clear from his facial expression. He, too, guessed that was most probably what had happened. "She doesn't like us, so she took Essie elsewhere and left us here." Why does she dislike us so much?" Benny mumbled under his breath. Archie could not help sighing inwardly. "I know how she feels about us, but I never thought she'd go so far as to abandon us at an amusement park and leave without us. Isn't she worried something might happen to us?" The thought upset him for a while. Then, he forced himself to perk up and took Benny's hand. Let's not wait anymore and head back. Maybe Grandma has already gone home with Essie." Benny was hesitant. Are we really not going to tell Mommy? What if Essie gets lost?" Archie furrowed his brows and answered, Mommy hasn't been in a good mood over the past couple of days. If she finds out about it, she's going to be even more upset. Let's not make her worry and go home first." Upon listening to those words, Benny thought about how Roxanne had been over the past few days and nodded solemnly. The boys held hands and left the amusement park to hail a taxi. The taxi driver felt concerned when he saw two children hailing for a taxi. Why are you kids on your own? Are you guys lost? Do you need me to call the police?" Archie shook his head. We came out on our own. Our mommy is waiting for us at home. Please send us back, sir." The driver doubted those words, but he couldn't bear to leave the kids by the side of the road, so he let them get into the car. The driver only felt more at ease and stepped on the gas after the kids told him their address accurately. The Farwell residence was quite a distance away from the amusement park. Since the driver was driving two children, he drove slowly and carefully to the Farwell residence. By the time they arrived at their destination, it was already past 4 in the afternoon. The car slowly rolled to a stop at the Farwell residence entrance, and the driver was stunned when he saw the luxurious building before his eyes. If the family is so rich, how can they let their kids roam around on their own? Aren't parents afraid that someone might kidnap their children? Sir, please wait a moment. I'll head in to get money," Archie said in a childish voice. The driver jolted out of his thoughts and flashed a friendly smile. That's not necessary. I don't take money from children. Hurry up and go in. Your parents must be worried sick." Obviously, Archie wouldn't agree. He patted Benny's shoulder and said, Go and get some cash from Ms. Catalina. I'll wait for you in the car. Okay. Benny got out of the car and ran toward the entrance of the manor to ring the doorbell. Catalina quickly answered the video call. Benny told her what was going on, and Catalina hung up the phone and brought out some cash. Catalina noticed that the boys were on their own when she was paying the driver. Upon thanking the driver, she wanted to pay the driver more money, but the driver refused. Catalina had no choice but to send the driver off after thanking him once again. When she brought Archie and Benny in, she asked, why are you boys on your own? Where are Mrs. Farwell and Miss Estella? Catalina checked the boys' bodies for injuries as she spoke. Archie and Benny lifted their arms obediently into the air to let her examine their bodies. However, none of the boys knew how to answer Catalina when she asked about Sonia and Estella. Catalina breathed a sigh of relief after making sure the boys hadn't suffered any injuries. Why are you boys keeping number? Did Mrs. Farwell say something mean to you boys again? Catalina knew how badly Sonia treated Archie and Benny. She was worried that Sonia had reprimanded them and told them to go home on their own. Archie and Benny shared a look. Neither of them wanted things to escalate, so they shook their heads and answered, no. We got tired, so we decided to head home first. Catalina stared at them suspiciously for a few seconds. The boys were smiling so innocently that they seemed as though they were telling the truth. Although Catalina could tell something was amiss, she knew she couldn't get more information out of them. She let the matter slide and asked, what would you boys want for dinner? I'll cook. The boys named a list of dishes in their piping voices in response. Catalina agreed readily with a smile. After reassuring Catalina, Archie and Benny hurried up the stairs and went into their room. Archie was anxiously calling Estella on her smartwatch while Benny was trying to locate Estella on his laptop. Prior to that, he had already modified Estella's watch, so it had an additional tracking function. That was why he could track her watch on his laptop. Archie couldn't get through to Estella, so he turned to ask Benny, how is it going? Have you tracked her down? Benny was frowning and sweating bullets. A while later, he slammed the keyboard and yelled, I found her. Archie stared at the screen and saw a green dot moving around. Where is this? He asked in confusion. Moments prior, not only did Benny find Estella's location, but he had also confirmed the place she was at. Upon hearing Archie's question, Benny immediately answered, she's in a mall nearby the amusement park. It seems that Essie has been there the entire afternoon. Archie nodded. If she's in a mall, I think she's just shopping. Archie and Benny couldn't help but feel disappointed. The mall and the amusement park are so near to each other. According to the tracker, we know what time they arrived at the mall. In fact, they were there shortly after splitting up with us. In other words, Grandma brought Essie to the mall just to get away from us. Does Grandma dislike us so much? Seeing that the green dot on the screen was still moving around, Archie suppressed his disappointment and said to Benny, keep an eye on the screen. If Essie's location changes, we'll call Grandma immediately. Archie was worried that Sonia would bring Estella back to the Farwell main residence just to keep them apart. Benny nodded and hummed in agreement. The two boys then stared at the screen intently. Less than half an hour later, the green dot on the screen suddenly moved away from the mall. Archie and Benny grew anxious. Benny then worked on his laptop to confirm the direction in which the green dot was moving. Both the boys finally felt at ease when they saw Sonia and Estella moving toward the Farwell residence. After shutting down the laptop, they ran downstairs to wait. Soon, they saw Sonia carrying Estella into the mansion. The driver was walking in behind them with bags of goods in his hands. See, they're here, aren't they? Stop crying already. I told you they couldn't have gotten lost. Sonia said to Estella irritably. Evidently, Estella had been crying the entire time when they were in the mall. Sonia was infuriated because even though she had been buying Estella things to coax her, it didn't work. Everyone in the mall had been looking at Sonia as though she were a kidnapper. Left without a choice, she had to bring Estella home. The second Estella saw Archie and Benny, she broke free from Sonia's grip and dashed toward them. Needless to say, the boys were heartbroken when they saw Estella crying. Stop crying, Essie. We're fine. I want to be with you guys. I didn't want to go to the mall. You guys weren't in the mall. Estella choked out. Sonia paled when she heard Estella saying those words. Archie and Benny felt bad, but they could only try their best to comfort Estella. We were wrong. We shouldn't have left you alone, Essie. From now on, we'll bring you along wherever we go, okay? Grandma told me she called you guys, but neither of you picked up. Estella was visibly upset. Archie and Benny shot Sonia a dubious glance when they heard those words. Since when did Grandma call us? As a matter of fact, we were the ones calling Essie. However, the calls we made were all unsuccessful. The boys couldn't bear to spill the truth when they saw how red Estella's eyes were. They backed Sonia up, saying, Our watches died, so we came home to charge them. With that, the boys shot Sonia a look. Sonia had been worried that the boys would expose her. She was surprised to see them backing her up, but she quickly calmed herself down. Those boys said that just to please me. Well, I'm not so easily pleased. Sonia approached Estella and said, all right, now, since you're already home and you've seen them, go wash up. You have tears all over your face. Estella looked at Archie and Benny aggrievedly. Grandma must have something to say to us. Archie and Benny shared a glance and nodded. Daddy and Mommy are coming home soon. They're going to get worried if they see you in this state. Only then did Estella go to the bathroom reluctantly. Sonia glaret et Catalina. Catalina was worried about Archie and Benny, but she was in no place to go against Sonia. She had no choice but to walk away helplessly. Just like that, Sonia and the boys were the only ones left in the living room. Archie shielded Benny and raised his gaze toward the person before their eyes. Sonia, on the other hand, looked down at the boys when she uttered patronizingly, Did you think you could gain my approval by pleasing me? No matter what you say, you're still not a part of the Farwell family. I'll never allow you guys into the family. Archie frowned and retorted in a cute voice, I think you've got it wrong. We were merely comforting Essie. We weren't speaking up for you. Sonia's expression changed drastically. She was so angry that she almost reached out to pull Archie's ear. How dare you argue with me? You boys have no manners at all. Upon hearing those harsh words, Benny couldn't help but argue. If we had manners, would you accept us? Sonia let out a chuckle in exasperation. Didn't you say you guys weren't trying to please me? I don't care how well-behaved or outstanding you are. As long as you aren't Lucian's children, I'll never consider you a part of the Farwell family. With that, she put on a cold expression and warned, You're planning to tell Lucian and Roxanne about this, aren't you? Go on. I don't care. I've been looking for an opportunity to chase you guys and your mommy out of the Farwell family. Indeed, Sonia had been holding her frustration in. If these two brats were to tell Lucian about it, Lucian would definitely look for me. If that happens, I'm going to use the opportunity to chase the three of them out. What Sonia said was loud and clear. She was adamant about not accepting the boys if they weren't Lucian's. Benny felt sorrowful upon hearing that. How are you so sure we're not his children? What if we are? Sonia's expression changed as she sized up the boys. A while later, she said harshly, dream on. That's impossible. Lucian only has one child, and that's Essie. With that, Sonia left unhappily.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.